All right, another tutorial for clients of Abell Smith Design. This time I want to talk more about how to make changes to specific pages of your website, such as the home page, and also go more in depth on Beaver Builder. So for this tutorial, I'm going to use this website. It's a client in Poulsbo who has a property and they do goat yoga, among other things there. It's a pretty cool little place. Highly recommend checking them out. So for this tutorial, I'm going to demonstrate how to make changes to this section of your website. And I call this the callouts section. Other developers might call this something else. I call it the callouts. And these are just promotional sections of the home page that guide the user to important inner pages of the website. And present calls to action that lead them to information that you need them to have about your business or whatever it is that you're promoting on your website. So usually these call out boxes will have something similar to this. They'll have an icon or sometimes a thumbnail image up here. They'll have a subheader, some text, and a button. And you can see this, another example of this on another website that I have done. This is for a nonprofit in Bremerton that does student athlete mental and physical education called Commit 360 in Bremerton. And you can see they have an icon, a subheader, some text, and a button, same thing. So in this case, you're going to need to log into WordPress as an administrator, as opposed to the usual editor that you usually log in as. And I'm going to explain that in a minute here. So I'm going to go back to WordPress, logged in as an administrator. I'm going to go down to on the pages, all pages, and I'm going to go down to find the home page. And I'm going to hover over that, and you see I get the option for Beaver Builder here. So I'm either going to right click on that and say open in a new tab, or control click so that opens in a new tab. And you will get this. So this is the home page opened in Beaver Builder. So the first thing I want to do is change this text above the callouts. So I'm going to hover over this, and you can see I get two boxes here. I get an outer box and an inner box. And this is Beaver Builder differentiating between a row and a module. So the outer box, you can see if I hover over it and hover a little higher, it turns blue. This is just, so as I said, Beaver Builder differentiating between a row and a module. The outer box is the row, inner box is the module. So down here you can see the icon, the subheader, the text, and the button. These are modules within this larger row. So I want to make the change to this text here. So I'm going to click on the inner part, the module. I'm going to click the wrench, and I'm going to go to General. And say I just want to take the end part of this text off. So making edits in the text editor in Beaver Builder is just like, it should look familiar. It's just like using Word or any other kind of text editor you might be familiar with. You can see the controls should look pretty similar. You have buttons like bold, italics, bullet points, alignment, adding a link, etc. I'm not going to go too in depth on these, but one thing to be aware of is this button right here is for adding text from Word. So a lot of times when you have text in a Word document that you want to put into a website, Word will by default add a bunch of funny characters that don't quite look quite right on the web. So in order to do that, so say I want to copy and paste this text into my web page, you just want to make sure that you have this button selected before you paste that text in, because that button will remove the extra formatting that Word puts in to those characters. But in this case, I want to just remove that end part of the text there. So I'm going to deselect that. I'm going to highlight all of this end text, and I'm just going to backspace, and I'm going to say save. And I am going to then press Control P, or that will publish, or you can click this drop down and say Publish Layout to publish. And then I will go to the front end of the website and click refresh, and that should show up how I want it to, and it does. So next I want to go back to Beaver Builder, and I want to change this icon to a barn. So I'm going to hover over that, click the wrench over the icon, and you can see some text comes up. This is called a short code. I'm not going to go too in depth on short codes, just know that that's what it's called. And this is why I want to be logged in as an administrator in this case. So to change the icon, you need access to this plugin that I have installed called WP SVG Icons, and you only have access to that as an administrator. So I'm going to click on that, and it is going to take me to that plugin. And I will have installed a custom icon set for you. These are default icons that are installed with this plugin. If you use one of these, you want to make sure that you have div selected. So here's the house that is currently on there. You want to make sure you have div selected. Here's that short code that comes up that you want to copy and use. But in this case, I want to use a custom icon that I have installed on my website here. So I'm going to use this barn. So I'm going to click that, and you can see I get the short code that comes up. So I'm going to copy that short code, and I am going to go back to Beaver Builder, and I'm going to highlight the short code that's in there and paste the new short code in there. And I'm going to click Save and Control P to publish. And I'm going to go back to the front end of the live website and refresh. And it has now changed the icon to the barn, but you can see it's tiny. So I want to change the size of the barn. So the icon is an SVG, meaning you should be able to enlarge it as much as you like, and it won't get pixelated. So I'm going to go to Beaver Builder, go to the icon again, and within the shortcode, I'm going to click inside the bracket at the end of the end quote for div. I'm going to say space, size equals, open quote, 70px in this case. You might need to play with that to get the right size, end quote. And I'm going to click save and Control P to publish. And you can see the barn looks good to me now. It's a little low, so I'm going to click the wrench again. I'm going to go to Advanced tab. And on the old icon, I had about 5 pixels of a margin at the top. So I want to make sure that this link is deselected, because you can see if you select the link, it makes everything the same. Top, right, bottom, left, makes them all the same. So I'm going to deselect that link, and I'm going to make them all 0 in this case. And click Save. And Control P to publish. And that looks a little better to me. So the subheader here, I want to make a change to that. I'm going to click the wrench on the subheader. These are all controlled individually. The icons on each callout box, the subheaders on each callout box, as I might have said before, the text on each callout box. The buttons are controlled globally, and I across the website, and I will go into that more later. So the subheader here on About, I want to change this. I'm going to go to General, and I'm going to click at the end here. I'm going to say About Us, and click Save. You don't have to do publish on every one if you're doing little minor changes. So the text here, I'm going to click the wrench, say I want to take here out of the end. So I'm going to highlight here, delete that, click Save. And I'll go ahead and do publish now just to make sure I don't lose any changes. And I'm going to go to the front end of the website and refresh, and my changes should show up. So you can see that I have the barn there. It says About Us, and the here is gone. So the button now, I want to make a change to the button text. Go back to Beaver Builder. I'm going to click on the button, or hover over the button. I'm going to click the wrench. And you can see it just looks like a regular link in Beaver Builder. So I want to make a change to the text in the link on the button. So, and this is going to be the same for any link on your website that you change in Beaver Builder. The way you change it is the same. So I'm going to click the link, and you see I get some tools here. I'm going to click this pencil, and then I'm going to click this gear. So I want to change the text here. Let's say I want to change this to read about the Smithshire. So I'm going to change that. And let's say, for the sake of demonstration, I want to change the actual link itself to Google. So I'm going to copy Google's URL, as I said, just for demonstration. I'm going to click in here, Control A to select all, and I'm going to paste Google's URL in there. Now, whenever you put a link on your website, I always recommend if you're linking out of your website to open it in a new tab. So at least your website is open for the user still in their browser in a different tab. If you're linking to another page that is within your website, you don't need to do that. But if you're linking out, like I said, I always recommend opening in a new tab. So that's how you would change that. You would say update and then save. And then Control P to publish. And then I'm going to go back to the front end of the website, of the live website, and refresh. And you should see your changes now, and you see the latest change we made this read. I am going to click the button, and Google opens in a new tab. I want to change that back to the About page. So I'm going to show you something else about Beaver Builder links here. If I click that, click the pencil, click the icon, it gives you a link of the pages and other items in your website. So you can search the whatever page you want. So I'm going to say About Us. That's what I want to link to, is that page. And you can see it changed the link to that. I can deselect open in a new tab because I don't need that anymore. Click update, save. and Control P to publish. And one more thing I want to demonstrate here is colors, how to make changes to colors in these callout sections. So the icon, in this case, you can see the yellow is a little bit different from the button. So I want to change that to the correct shade of yellow for this icon and this subheader. So remember, these are controlled individually and separately from the buttons. So I'm going to click the wrench on the barn, and I have saved that. You go to Style and click Color. I have saved that. This is called a hex code. I have saved that hex code here in my clipboard. So I'm going to paste that hex code in there, and you can see that turns into what we want it. You can also click and drag this little circle to the shade of color that you want. Nudge it around. In this case, I just want to paste that hex code in there. And I'm going to click Save. And the barn should be the color that I want it now. I'm going to do the same thing to About Us. Click the wrench. Make sure Style is selected. Click the color and paste that hex code in there. Click Save. And then Publish. The color of the buttons is slightly more complex. It is controlled in a part of WordPress called the Customizer. So I'll show you that real quickly. It is in WordPress when you're logged in as an administrator under Appearance, Customize. This used to be a much bigger part of the websites that I hand over to my clients. And I have found that my clients have found the customizer more confusing than helpful. So I have de-emphasized this in into the packages that I hand off to my clients. It is extremely powerful. There's a lot of control that you have over your website there. So you know it's there, but just know that it takes a bit a bit of patience. So for the buttons, I want to go to General and then Theme Buttons, and this is where the colors are controlled. And if you can see, it has the background color of the button by default, the hover background color. So if you hover over the button, that's what color the button turns when you hover. It's got the default font color, which is the same as that. It's got the hover font color, which you can see it turns that yellow. So I want to change the two yellows. You can also, in the customizer, change things like the border radius, which is the curve around the outside of the button, border width, which is only 2 pixels in this case, border color, border hover color. So it's pretty powerful. There's a lot of control you have over different aspects of your website. But as I said, just go slow, and maybe if you're not if you feel like these aren't necessarily changes that need to be made on your website, maybe just leave things as they are. I'm going to change the button background cover by default to the shade of orange that I saved. And you can see when I do that, things get kind of funky. Customizer forgets the styles that are already saved on the website. So this is another reason why Customizer is maybe more trouble than it's worth for you if you're not used to dealing with it. That will not show up on the front end after you save here. So I'm going to change the hover of the font to the yellow that I saved. Paste that in there. I'm going to click Publish. And I'm going to go back to the front end of the website, and I am going to refresh. Everything should look as I want it to now. And it does. So this is more about how to use Beaver Builder and make changes to these homepage sections of your website.